crying.
Chelsea lost more ground in the title race as they were unable to break down Wolves' resistance at Molineux. The Blues had seen calls to have the game postponed turned down by the Premier League, which meant Thomas Tuchel had to name a depleted team. Everton held them to a draw on Thursday night and the Midlands outfit were able to do likewise. Wolves will feel, especially after their first half showing, that they could have snatched all 3 points. Daniel Podence saw a first-half goal ruled out for offside before Chelsea grew into the contest. Christian Pulisic perhaps had the visitors' best chance but his close-range effort was saved as the Blues endured another, frustrating outing with the gap between them and the league leaders growing. One problem's unresolved. Chelsea haven't looked themselves in recent weeks and their performance at Molineux will have done little to help them turn the corner. Tuchel is dealing with a host of absentees, but his side are not playing with the confidence and assurance they have been. Chelsea won 8 of their first 10 games, but have dropped points regularly since. A team that were winning with apparent ease have lost pace in the title race in recent weeks. Their display at Wolves will have done little to suggest they have rediscovered their mojo, although it must be said they have some stellar names to return in the coming weeks. The Blues were noticeable better in the second half, but lacked much cutting edge. To Wolves' credentials recently the Midlands outfit have been a match for anyone, with the possible exception of last season. But under Bruno Lage Wolves are again providing stern tests for the Premier League's elite. They've played the top 3 over the past fortnight and taken each of them all the way. Liverpool needed a stoppage-time goal at Molineux whilst Manchester City needed a Raheem Sterling to win last weekend. This time Wolves were able to earn something for their efforts as they held Chelsea to a goalless draw. Lage is largely working with the squad he inherited but continues to show that Wolves can bother the top 6 once more and, in recent months, could be among those to challenge for the European places. 3 Kanté's lucky escape. The Frenchman can consider himself a lucky man. Quite how the combination of VAR and David Coote didn't penalize N'Golo Kanté for a handball in the first half. The Chelsea midfielder was the last man and seemed to stop the ball running through to Podence with his arm. Wolves players were incensed and, by virtue of being the last man, Kanté surely would have received his marching orders with over an hour to play. For Chalobah's makeshift role, midfielders overlooked the Chelsea youngster is relatively new to first-team action, so taking on a new role is certainly not something he'll have been expecting. Chalobah has been an impressive part of the backline when called upon by Tuchel. But he and Kanté came in to replace Jorginho and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, meaning he was playing far more advanced than he would usually. Questions will be asked of Chelsea's other options though. It is perhaps telling that Tuchel opted to play Chalobah in that role whilst Mateo Kovacic, Saul Niguez and Ross Barkley all sat on the bench. The former has just returned from injury, but Saul and Barkley may further question their status. Saul was able to have an impact when he came on in the second half, which could help his case having struggled so far. 5 calls for clarity. Many will ask whether this game should have even gone ahead and what the parameters are for calling off a Premier League game. Those in charge seem to have no consistent basis, at least not one we know of, for deciding which games go ahead and which games don't. Chelsea thought they had a legitimate case for calling off their trip to Molineux, with Tuchel making his feelings clear. He said, "We applied to not play and put the situation under control and it was rejected. It is very hard to understand it. We are very concerned about the health of the players. We end up with players who play coming from injuries and we take the risk." Given the amount of postponements the Premier League could do with setting out exactly what the requirements are before a game is called off.